When I think about Abraham Lincoln, I feel very connected, and I felt that way since I was a little kid. I, of course, thought a lot about Abraham Lincoln making this coin, and in part it was because he was my first hero. I read the books about him with the axe. I saw him sitting there, and he's in the woods, and he was working in the rain and the snow and everything else, and his father was working him to death. And seeing him work hard and then sit down on the log and read a book. And I was very bookish, you know, loved books, loved reading about anything. And I felt drawn to him as a character, you know, like Johnny Appleseed or something. And I became fascinated that he had this very tough existence, pioneer existence, but he would sit down and read books. And he would study, and he would decide what he wanted to do, and that he could develop himself and become an attorney. And this is like a melding of the two sides of my family, you know, the hardscrabble West Virginians and the founding fathers landing on the shores like in the late 1600s. So I felt like, oh, I could put these two things together. So I got close to Abraham Lincoln as a kid. And I immediately sort of formed this idea that I wanted to know more about him, and I wanted to find out what was his life like, what did he think, how did he, you know, grow up to become the president. So I began to realize that Abraham Lincoln was a man who had a vision that rose above his hardships. He had a lot of hardships. He had a real rough time of it. But he formed in his mind, it was a new country, and he was a young lawyer, and he was coming out of nothing, and he formed in his mind his own heartfelt vision of what he wanted this new young country to embody, the values. And, you know, it's interesting when you see images of the Civil War and you start to think, how did we ever get through this? And honestly, I know the odds were terrible. I know that the carnage was enormous. But the only thing that got us through, the only thing that allowed the United States to stay united was Abraham Lincoln's vision. And he was hated for it. He was killed for it. But he refused to allow anything else. And that's what did it. He was the one who said, we must do this. And without that vision, we would not be the United States. Without him, it would have just, I think it would have just imploded. We might not have a country at all. And then as I read about him, I just started to learn a lot of things about how to hold a vision and achieve something. It mattered to me. So he went from being a childhood hero to a great hero for me in life. That's what Abraham Lincoln means to me, and I feel inspired when I think about him.